So today I'm going to show you how I built these ramps for the trailer. So this is what I'm going to be using to make these ramps out of. This is what's called grip-strut or walk planking, depending on who you talk to. Now, is this absolute best stuff to make this stuff out of? I think that's a bit subjective. For most people, the best way to do something is going to be the way that they're most familiar with doing it, or with materials that they're most used to working with. So in my case, this is the best way for me to do it because this stuff was readily available to me. After many, many years of doing belt conveyors, grain elevators, and other material handling equipment for both industry and farm use, I've used a lot of this stuff over the years. This is what would be used on all the walkways, going up sides of conveyors and on platforms. And when you go up grain elevators, this is what's used on the platforms up there too. So this stuff was sitting around behind the shop of my old job. So it was readily available to me, reasonably cost effective for me. And the surface of it is a non-slip, so I don't have to worry about, like with equipment ramps that have the angle irons going across where the car goes, it comes in and goes thump, thump, thump all the way up, and it's hard to, this would be nice and smooth. And this stuff is about 18 and a half inches wide, so I don't have to worry so much about having the ramp so perfectly lined up and the car so perfectly lined up, because there's some leeway. You can be a little off and still get the car up on there. Now this stuff is about 1.5 inches thick here. And of course it's made to walk on, not for cars to drive over. Now for the cars that I'm playing with, the little British cars, this might actually be strong enough without any extra support, but we're going to put a little extra support on them because while most of the time I'm using little British cars, not always. You know, when you want to throw an Astrovan up in there, up on the trailer or something like that, it's a lot more weight to deal with, so we're going to support them a little bit more. The nice thing about this thing too is the end of this was already tapered down for the start of a walkway. So what I'll end up doing is I'll just take this, we'll cut it right in the middle, and then we'll taper the other end to match that end, and that'll be the start of our ramps. All right, so now I'm going to roughly duplicate this taper, about 3.5 inches in. So we come in 3.5 inches. And we'll make a line across here. And then we'll make a line down here. Of course, I'll get a straight edge here and make a better line than that, but that's, we're going to cut a pie out just like that. So I'm not getting too crazy here today with trying to be super exacting with everything. Normally I'm much more about being exacting than what I'm being here, but these are just trailer ramps. And whatever I'm doing here is definitely gonna be at least as good as this stuff that was done here, because this was done in the field where it was just torch and probably a stick welder, and they did it really quickly. So now this stuff measures about 1.5 inches right here. So it'd be ideal to have 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches angle. But what I have here is 1.75 inches by 1.75 inches by 1/8. And that's what I have to work with, so that's what I'm working with. So I cut this leg down to 1.5 inches. I cut the length of this to where I tapered this down so it fits down here. And we'll put this on here so that it's about 1/8 of an inch off the end there, and 1/8 on off of here, and then we'll clamp this on here and weld it down the length here and stitch it on the inside here. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put some paint. I'd like to use cold galvanizing compound on the inside of this, but I don't have any right now. So I'm going ahead and spray this with etch primer because that's what I have available right now. That usually works pretty good. So we'll go ahead and clamp this thing on here. You know, give myself just past the radius there, 1/8 inch, 3/16, something like that. Get it pretty even all the way down the length. And we want to clamp it definitely in the middle because these things are bowed slightly. We need that to come up and actually flatten it out. And what I'll do is I'll lay out some sort of a pattern here to stitch this evenly across there, and then we'll weld it stitch it either on the back side or on the front side here to the front. One thing I personally don't like too well about these smaller welders is the nozzles don't have any real setback to the tip compared to the ones I'm used to using for more industrial settings. And of course this nozzle's really due for being replaced too, so I have a lot of problems with it building up and then giving me some troubles. So there's our basic support pieces in place. So now to hook this up to the trailer here, I made this piece here. Now this is made out of 10 gauge. I bent it 90 degrees here, and this is based on the trailer that I'm working with. I think I did like 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches here. And then we did like a 2 inch here with like a 10 or 15 degree bend here just to get it nose over a little bit. I make it the same width as this, the width here. And I had already made this a long time ago. All I did was just trim the width down to fit in here. And we slide that in here. And what we'll do is we'll weld this to here and then across here. And then I'll come in here and stitch it in here too. Now this is galvanized, and so is this. So you should be wearing a mask. If I could find one here in the shop, I would be right now. Because you don't really want to breathe in the fumes from galvanized. Not good for you. So we weld this on up here, and that will give us a nice little bit of an angle here to hook this to the trailer. So there's the basic ramp. Now if you really wanted to, if you think you needed to, you can get more of the, you can take more of this angle iron and put some across in the middle here and anywhere you wanted to, or you can leave it just like this depending on how heavy the vehicles you think you're going to be carrying are and whether you think you really need it or not. In my case, this is probably going to be just fine. Now all I got to do is do the same thing to that one, and we got ourselves a pair of ramps.